Imagine a classic scene. It's a Friday night. You're at a gathering. It could be a work party, a get-together with friends of friends, or a family dinner. There's music, the clinking of glasses, and laughter. The atmosphere seems perfect. People around you are engaged in lively conversation. Someone is talking about their kitchen remodel. Someone else is discussing the new series on Netflix. Another person is complaining about gas prices. You stand in the midst of all this festivity with a glass in your hand. On your face is a polite, plastered-on smile. You nod along, chiming in with, "Oh, really?" and "Wow, you're playing your part." But inside, something entirely different is happening. You feel your energy draining away like water into sand. Every minute of this conversation feels like a physical weight. Your brain starts to stall. You catch yourself studying the pattern on the wallpaper or counting the seconds until you can politely excuse yourself with a headache and escape home to the quiet. And when you finally do escape, the relief is replaced by another feeling, a sticky and unpleasant one: guilt. You start interrogating yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do all these people look happy and relaxed while I feel like I've been doing manual labor? Why can't I just enjoy the moment? Maybe I'm an arrogant snob, maybe I'm a sociopath, incapable of human warmth. Am I just broken? From childhood, we are taught, especially in our modern culture focused on success and networking, that sociability is the ultimate virtue, that a normal person should be able to get along with anyone, that if you're bored with people, it means you just don't know how to listen or you're too self-centered. I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. If you recognize yourself in this description, there is nothing wrong with you. In fact, your reaction is a sign of a healthy, complex mind. Your boredom is not a character flaw. It's not a social disability. Your boredom is a powerful defense mechanism. It's an alarm signal sent by your brain. Think of it this way. If you eat spoiled food, your stomach reacts with nausea. It's unpleasant, but it saves your life. Nausea prevents toxins from being absorbed into your body. Your intellect works in the exact same way. When you, a person accustomed to dealing with meaning, ideas, and deep emotions, are placed in an environment of informational fast food, your brain reacts with mental nausea. We call this nausea boredom. You're not bored because you look down on these people. You're bored because you're starving. Your processor craves complex tasks, deep analysis, and sincere emotional resonance, but instead it's being forced to process emptiness. We live in a world that has pathologized introversion and depth, declaring small talk as the pinnacle of social evolution. But the great minds of the past, from Carl Jung to Friedrich Nietzsche, saw it differently. They knew that the ability to feel bored by banality isn't a curse, but a filter. A harsh but necessary filter that protects your uniqueness from dissolving into the crowd. You don't need to learn to be simpler. You don't need to learn to tolerate it. You need to understand the nature of this mechanism, to understand why your brain is like a race car that stalls in city traffic, and to stop blaming yourself for not being able to travel at a walking pace. To truly understand the mechanics of your boredom, we need to debunk the myths surrounding one of the most popular psychological concepts. We need to turn to Carl Gustav Jung, the man who gave the world the terms introvert and extrovert. Unfortunately, modern pop culture has distorted these concepts beyond recognition. We've been led to believe that an extrovert is always a cheerful leader and the life of the party, while an introvert is a withdrawn, shy sociophobe who's afraid to order a pizza over the phone. This is complete nonsense. Shyness is the fear of social judgment. Introversion is a way of interacting with energy. Jung explained this through the concept of libido, life energy. The difference between you and the person enthusiastically chatting about the weather isn't that one of you is better or worse. The difference is where your charging station is located. Imagine an extrovert is a solar panel. To recharge, he needs to be in the sun, in the external world, among people, noise, and events. He absorbs energy from the outside. For him, conversation is a process of refueling. Loneliness is the shade where his charge drops to zero. You, as a person of an introverted or deep nature, are wired differently. You are a rechargeable battery. You generate energy internally, in moments of peace, reflection, and solitude. Your inner world is rich and self-sufficient, and when you go out to be with people, you don't gain this energy, you spend it. For you, any social interaction, even the most pleasant one, is an expense. You pay with your life force for every word, every nod, every attempt to read the other person's emotions. And this is where a harsh law of economics comes into play. If every conversation costs you energy, then your brain, like a prudent accountant, is constantly evaluating the return on investment at ROI. If you spend 100 units of energy on a conversation, what do you get in return? If it's a conversation about something important, philosophy, the future, feelings, plans, you receive meaning. You gain insight. You feel a sense of deep connection. Yes, you get tired, but you leave feeling fulfilled. The transaction was fair. You exchanged energy for value. But what happens during small talk? You're told gossip about people you don't know. They discuss car brands. They complain about the rain. You stand there smiling and nodding. Your energy meter is spinning wildly. You're burning premium fuel. And what do you get in return? Nothing. Emptiness. Informational noise. To your brain, this is daylight robbery. You are giving away gold and receiving plastic tokens in return. Your boredom in that moment is not a sign of your pride. It's the emergency siren from your internal accountant screaming, "We're incurring catastrophic losses. This investment is not paying off. Shut down the operation." For a deep person, small talk is unpaid labor. An extrovert doesn't feel this loss because the very process of exchanging superficial emotions recharges him. For him, it's free and even profitable. For you, it's nothing short of bloodletting. So when you're standing at a party and feel boredom weighing on you like a physical burden, stop thinking you're broken. Stop thinking you need to try harder. You're not broken, you've just entered into a bad deal. And your body, being wiser than you, is trying to get you out of it before you're completely drained. But it's not just about energy, it's also about the power of your engine. And here we come to the neurobiological reason for your solitude. Now let's move from the economics of energy to the mechanics of your brain. And for this, we'll need the most vivid metaphor of this scenario. Imagine a Formula One race car, or a brand new Ferrari with an 800 horsepower engine. This machine is a masterpiece of engineering. It was created for one purpose: to fly down the track at breakneck speeds. Its cooling systems, its aerodynamics, its gearbox, everything is designed for peak performance. When it's hurtling along at 200 mph, it's in its element. It's working perfectly. Now, imagine taking that Ferrari and putting it in a dead-stop traffic jam downtown during rush hour. Stop and go, a speed of 3 miles per hour. Traffic lights, pedestrians, endless waiting. What will happen to the car? It will start to jerk and shudder. Its engine will begin to overheat because it's not getting the airflow it needs for cooling. The spark plugs will get fouled with carbon. The driver will find it physically difficult to restrain this beast that's straining to leap forward but is forced to crawl. The car will start to break down, not because it's weak, but because it's too powerful for the conditions it's been placed in. Your brain is that Ferrari. High intelligence or deep emotional sensitivity means you have a high level of cognitive metabolism. Your brain is a machine for processing complex information. It craves patterns, puzzles, abstract concepts, and deep connections. It needs speed. When you're having a conversation about the weather, about who bought what, or about trivial news, you are forcing your Ferrari to drive in a traffic jam. You're using 1% of your processor's power to maintain this dialogue. Yeah, they're calling for rain later. You don't need intelligence for that sentence. An answering machine would suffice. But what are the other 99% of your brain doing? They don't shut down, they don't go into sleep mode. They start going crazy from cognitive starvation. The boredom of an intelligent person is not a passive state, it's an active, agonizing process. Since your powerful mind isn't getting nourishment from the outside, from the conversation, it starts looking for it inside, or it starts to devour itself. You start noticing the other person's micro-expressions and wondering if they're lying. You start analyzing the room's architecture, your thoughts drift to existential problems. You start hearing every and in their speech, and it begins to irritate you like a dripping faucet. This is called cognitive dissonance from underload. You feel irritation, anxiety, and a desire to escape, not because you're a bad person, but because your system is overheating from being idle. A standard city sedan, the average mind feels perfectly fine in this traffic jam. It was built for it. It's comfortable driving at 15 mph, discussing grocery store discounts and not sweating it. It doesn't overheat because its power is fully engaged by the task. And so you look at the driver of the sedan and think, why is he happy while I'm suffering? The answer is simple. He is on his road, and you are not. Your boredom is the cry of your engine. Give me speed, give me complexity, give me a task worthy of my pistons. But there's another side to this coin. If boredom is a signal of a mismatch, it also performs another crucial function. It works as a filter. And no one expressed this better than Europe's most uncompromising philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche was perhaps the loneliest man in the history of European thought. He walked through the Swiss mountains, talked to himself, and wrote books that none of his contemporaries bought. He knew everything about boredom and alienation, and he gave this feeling a magnificent name, the pathos of distance. Nietzsche argued that the ability to feel this chasm between yourself and others is not a vice. It is a necessary prerequisite for any growth. Society, or as Nietzsche called it, the herd, always strives for conformity. The main goal of a group is cohesion. To be together, we must be alike. We must laugh at the same jokes, believe in the same ideas, and maintain the comfortable temperature of polite agreement. But personal development always requires separation. You cannot grow if you are dissolved in the mass. Your boredom is the immune response of your individuality. It tells you, be careful. If you stay here too long, if you start pretending this is interesting to you, you will lose yourself. You will become just like them. We often confuse this selectivity with arrogance. Others might accuse you, what, you think you're better than us? But Nietzsche would reply, it's not about who is better or worse in a moral sense. It's about different altitudes of thought. An eagle does not hate sheep, but it cannot graze with them in a meadow. It would simply starve because its food is found elsewhere. It's a matter of spiritual hygiene. Think of it this way. You carefully choose what you eat. You wouldn't eat garbage off the floor because you care about your body. So why should you consume junk communication that poisons your mind? Your boredom is a filter. It ruthlessly weeds out people who cannot provide nourishment for your mind and soul. If you didn't have this feeling, you would be stuck in hundreds of empty relationships. You would spend your evenings in conversations that are forgotten a minute later. You would fill your life with noise. Boredom creates a vacuum around you. Silence, distance, and yes, at first this distance can feel cold and lonely, but it is precisely this free space that is necessary for something real to enter your life. Nietzsche teaches us not to apologize for our standards. Your need for depth is your right, and defending that right often requires toughness. But the most terrible thing doesn't happen when we leave. The most terrible thing happens when we stay and put on a mask. But here's the tragedy. Even understanding all this, even feeling our inner Ferrari overheating and our soul demanding distance, we rarely get up and leave. Instead, we commit a crime against ourselves. We put on a mask. Carl Jung called this the persona. In ancient theater, the persona was the mask an actor wore to signify his role. It's the face we show the world. It's a set of rehearsed phrases, polite smiles, and socially approved reactions. Jung said the persona is necessary. It protects our vulnerable inner self from the rough touch of the crowd. It's our spacesuit for venturing into the open space of society. Without it, we would be too fragile. But for a person who is chronically bored with most people, the persona transforms from a protective spacesuit into a lead coffin. Why do we do this? Why do we nod when we're not interested? Why do we laugh at stupid jokes? Because of fear, an ancient primal fear of rejection. Deep inside us sits the conviction, if I show them who I really am, if I start talking about death, about meaning, about the cosmos, they'll think I'm crazy. They'll cast me out. I'll be left alone. And to buy ourselves a little security, we betray our own nature. We create a false self, a convenient, understandable, normal version of ourselves. But this hypocrisy comes at a monstrous price. Imagine holding a heavy shield at arm's length. For a minute, it's easy. For an hour, it's difficult. For a whole evening, it's unbearable. Maintaining the persona requires a colossal expenditure of psychic energy. You're not just communicating, you are constantly suppressing your true reactions. You want to yawn, you smile. You want to argue, you agree. You want to retreat into yourself. You maintain eye contact. It's a continuous internal battle. Your true self is screaming and banging against the walls of your skull, while your false self continues to nod politely. This is why, after such gatherings, you feel not just tired but depleted, hollowed out. This state is called a social hangover. You didn't drink alcohol, but the next morning you're a wreck. Why? Because you spent all your resources maintaining a lie. The most terrible part of this performance is that it's pointless. You pretend in order to be liked by people, and let's say you succeed. They are delighted with your false self. They say, "What a pleasant person." But does this make you happy? No, because you know they don't love you. They love the mask. And the real you, the one sitting inside that mask, remains unseen, misunderstood, and even more alone than before. You find yourself in a trap. The better you play the role of normal, the thicker the wall between you and the world becomes, and the more unbearable the boredom grows. Because now it's not just you who is bored with them. Now you're also bored with yourself, the fake self you've become. Ultimately, we arrive at a frightening conclusion. You can be surrounded by 100 people, be the life of the party, have thousands of followers, and still be dying of a total, icy loneliness. Because the worst loneliness is not when you are alone in an empty room. It's when you are not understood while standing in the middle of a crowd. It's when you speak, but your words fall into a void, finding no echo. And here we must make a fundamental distinction between two concepts we often confuse: loneliness and solitude. In English, these are two different words. In life, they are two different worlds. Loneliness is a state of deficit. It's the pain of being isolated. It's the feeling, I feel bad because no one is here. It is a cry for help. Solitude is a state of abundance. It's the feeling, I feel good because I am finally with myself. It is a celebration of self-sufficiency. You are bored with people because they offer you a cure for loneliness, mere physical presence. But what you seek is solitude, the presence of meaning. The great Persian poet and sage Omar Khayyam formulated this rule 1,000 years ago in lines that every introvert should memorize: better to starve than eat whatever is available, and better to be alone than with just anyone. This is not arrogance. This is a diet. When you choose to be alone instead of enduring a boring gathering, you are not running from life. On the contrary, you are reclaiming your life. Solitude is not an empty room. It's a laboratory. It's a workshop. It is the only place where your powerful engine, your mind, can finally accelerate. In silence, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to waste energy on a mask. All that colossal energy that was spent on small talk is freed up for creativity, for thought, for contemplation. Look at the biographies of the people you admire. Writers, scientists, artists, philosophers. Almost all of them were fanatics of solitude, not because they hated people, but because they loved their ideas more than empty chatter. In solitude, boredom transforms. It ceases to be an agonizing wait for a conversation to end. It becomes what Joseph Brodsky called a window into time. Boredom, when you are alone, is the beginning of creativity. It's the moment when the brain, deprived of external stimuli, begins to create its own worlds. So, if you feel the urge to escape a party and go home to a book or your own thoughts, don't blame yourself. This is your system demanding a switch from loneliness in a crowd to productive solitude. But we are social animals. We cannot and should not live in complete isolation. We need other people. The only question is, what kind of people and on what terms? And here we move from philosophy to practice. How do you hack the system of communication so it stops being torture? We cannot and should not live in a cave. No matter how much we love solitude, humans are social creatures. We need interaction, connections, and careers. So instead of just running from the world, let's learn how to hack it. Let's turn social interaction from torture into a manageable process. Here are 3 social hacking tools that will save your energy. Tool 1, the icebreaker method. Turning small talk into deep talk. You hate small talk because it runs on autopilot. How are you? Fine. How about this weather? Terrible. It's like playing ping pong with cotton balls. Hack the script. Your task is to break through the ice of superficiality as quickly as possible and dive deep. When someone asks you a standard question, give a non-standard answer, or ask a follow-up question that requires thought. Instead of "how's work?" Ask, what are you working on right now that you're truly passionate about? Instead of discussing the news, ask, what book or idea has really changed your thinking lately? Or even more radically, what's worrying you the most right now? Yes, it's a risk. The person might be taken aback, but one of two things will happen. Either they'll get scared and walk away, great, you've saved time, they're not your person, or their eyes will light up, the mask will fall, and a real, living conversation will begin. You'd be surprised how many people are secretly desperate for someone to give them permission to take off the mask. Tool 2, the Cinderella strategy, hard limits. The biggest mistake an introvert makes is staying until the very end. We endure until our battery hits 0 and we turn into an irritable pumpkin. Set a rule, leave before you get tired. Give yourself a time budget. I'm going to this party for exactly 90 minutes. Once the time is up, leave, without guilt, without long excuses. A simple, thanks, this was great, but I have to get going, works flawlessly. People respect those who value their time. The paradox is that if you know you're leaving in an hour, you relax and can be much more present and engaged. Tool 3, the mathematics of your tribe. Stop trying to be friends with everyone. It's mathematically impossible. Accept this fact, 90% of people are not your people. And that's okay. They can be wonderful, kind, good citizens, but they're not on your wavelength. Trying to squeeze deep understanding out of them is like trying to get orange juice from a rock. You'll only break the juicer. Your goal is to find that 1 to 2% of people whose mental engine runs at the same speed as yours. Look for them. Scan the crowd with your boredom radar. And once you find them, hold on to them. Because one conversation with your person can recharge you more than a month's vacation. By using these tools, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You take control of your social interactions. You no longer tolerate, you choose. We began this conversation with a heavy feeling of guilt, with that thought that gnaws at you when you once again flee a party or decline an invitation to a fun get-together. The thought that you are broken, arrogant, or simply don't know how to live. But now, at the end of this journey, I hope you see the truth. And this truth should set you free. Stop trying to fix what isn't broken. Your boredom is not a defect, it is your compass. It is the most honest, accurate, and uncompromising navigation tool you possess. It shows you where life isn't, where imitation reigns, where people play roles instead of being themselves, where words have lost their weight and turned into noise. And if your internal compass is pointing to the exit, the most foolish thing you can do is argue with it. The most foolish thing is to try to drown out that signal with alcohol, polite smiles, or self-flagellation. Listen to your boredom. It is telling you, this is not our place. We were made for something else. We seek not noise, but signal. Not a crowd, but connection. Not a way to kill time, but a way to live. Don't be afraid to seem selective. You don't apologize for not eating rotten food, do you? You don't apologize for not wearing shoes that are too small. So why do you apologize for not wanting to cram your vast, complex world into the narrow box of banal conversations? Do not shrink yourself to fit into others' frames, because every time you pretend to be dumber, simpler, or more superficial than you are, you commit a tiny suicide. You kill your uniqueness. Yes, the path of selectivity is a path of risk. You risk being in the minority, you risk being labeled as weird. But the reward for this risk far outweighs any costs, because it is better to spend an evening alone with a good book that will change your mind than in a crowd of 100 people whose names you won't remember tomorrow. It is better to have just 2 friends with whom you can sit in the kitchen until dawn, discussing the universe, childhood traumas, art, and death, than to have 1,000 acquaintances with whom you can only discuss the weather and sales. It is better to wait years for your person than to settle for casual companions just to silence the quiet. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your connections, not their quantity, by depth, not by reach. When you stop wasting energy on those who don't hear you, you finally have the strength to find those who will. And believe me, they exist. In this huge, noisy world, there are people with the same engine as yours. People who also hate phoniness, people who are also searching for substance, people with whom you will never have to pretend. And when you meet them, and you will if you stop settling for less, You will understand that your boredom was not a curse. It was a guardian. It was protecting a place in your heart for those who truly deserve it. So the next time you feel unbearably bored among normal people, don't look down. Smile, remember who you are, and calmly walk toward whatever you find interesting. You have every right to do so.